Hey you, and welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're taking this really fascinating journey right into the world of Iain M. Culture series.
Ah, yes, the culture. A huge topic in sci-fi.
Definitely. These are science fiction novels that have, well, they've really captured imaginations, haven't they? Across our own galaxy, the Milky Way, that is.
Right. And for this exploration, you've gathered some really interesting materials. We've got that Space Ninja review, gives a great flavor.
Yeah, that one's punchy.
And the Wikipedia page, of course, for the facts. Then there's that literary hub piece, the one questioning Elon Musk's take on it all.
Exactly. Plus an article from the week on sci-fi influencing business.
Oh, and the Reddit thread discussing Musk's fandom, too. That was lively.
It was. And finally, that piece from In These Times offers a different angle, more of a socialist perspective on space exploration, touches on banks.
Quite a mix. So what's the plan?
Okay, so our mission today is to really kind of get under the skin of the culture series. We want to understand its appeal, what are the core ideas?
Makes sense.
And maybe the most intriguing bit, why is someone like Elon Musk, who seems to operate in such a different world, why is he drawn to this seemingly utopian vision?
That is the interesting question, isn't it?
We're hoping to maybe uncover some surprising things about, well, our own ideas of utopia, technology, society,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Okay, let's dive in.
All right. So fundamentally, the culture, it's built on this idea of a post-scarcity socialist utopia.
Right.
That Space Ninja review you mentioned. It calls them memorably hippie commies with hyperweapons and a deep distrust of both marketolatry and greedism.
Huh. Hippie commies with hyperweapons.
Yeah.
That paints a picture. And marketolatry, like worshiping the market.
Exactly. And greed isn't, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. Values the culture just doesn't buy into.
Okay, so instantly, this isn't your standard space empire.
Not at all. And Wikipedia fills in more details. It's a society made up of various humanoid species, aliens too, living alongside these incredibly advanced AIs.
The minds.
The minds, right? Super intelligent AIs, really distinct personalities, lots of autonomy. They live in these huge artificial habitats all over the Milky Way.
Wow. And the civilization, it's old.
Very old. Formed about 9,000 years before the novels even start.
9,000 years. That's a lot of time to sort things out.
It is. And a key outcome of that long history is this post-scarcity economy.
Meaning?
Meaning technology's advanced so far that pretty much all production, resource management, it's all automated.
So people don't really need to work. The biological people, I mean.
Largely, no. The planning, the administration, that's mostly handled by the minds, these super powerful AIs.
Okay, sign me up. No more commutes, no TPS reports. Sounds pretty appealing.
It does paint an attractive picture, yeah. The values, like Space Ninja points out, they lean towards hedonism.
Pursuit of pleasure?
Yeah, enjoyment, personal freedom prioritized, general well-being, plus they live for a really, really long time.
Okay, but utopias and stories, they always have a catch, right? A flip side. What's the dark side or the challenge for the culture?
That's a fair question. The main tension really comes from the culture's own ideals, these deeply held principles, versus what they actually do.
Which involves?
Well, interventions. Sometimes necessary, often morally complicated interventions in the affairs of civilizations that are, well, less advanced technologically.
Okay, that's where the drama comes in.
That's where it gets edgy, yeah.
And this brings us to contact.
Right.
And special circumstances.
Exactly. Contact is the part of the culture that deals with other civilizations. And special circumstances, or SC Space Ninja calls it the Black Ops arm.
The Black Ops. So dealing with the messy stuff, the morally gray areas.
Precisely. It's
Yeah.
very different from, say, Starfleet's Prime Directive. SC actively, though subtly, tries to nudge other societies in directions the culture thinks are better.
From their perspective, of course.
From their perspective. And what's interesting, thinking about the novels themselves, most of them don't actually focus on the average culture citizen living their perfect life.
Oh, who do they focus on then?
Usually, as both Space Ninja and Wikipedia mention, they focus on the interaction points between the culture and others, often told from the perspective of people on the fringes or even completely outside the culture.
Okay, so it's not like a travel guide to paradise.
Definitely not.
We're seeing the consequences, the sort of ripples, when this hyper-advanced utopia bumps up against societies with totally different values, different tech levels.
Exactly. And the novels cover a huge range of themes because of that. You've got war, like in Consider
The
Phlebas.
first one, chronologically published anyway.
Right. Then you have Player of Games, which is all about, well, games, but also how they reflect and shape societies.
Interesting.
Then there's stuff like Surface Detail, exploring philosophical ideas like literally the concept of hell. Or Hydrogen Sonata, which looks at a whole civilization deciding to sublimate.
Sublimate.
Sort of transcend. Move to a higher, less physical state of being. Big concepts.
Wow. It sounds like a really deep and varied universe then, even if the books are mostly standalone stories.
Yeah, new characters each time, mostly. But that's a key part of the structure. You can jump in almost anywhere.
Yeah, there are connections for people who read them all.
Oh, yeah. Subtle references, recurring themes, little nods here and there that reward the dedicated reader. It builds this incredible tapestry.
Thinking about where it fits in sci-fi, Wikipedia calls it space opera, right? Grand scale.
Absolutely space opera. But as Wikipedia points out, it kind of swerved away from the dystopian trend that was big in cyberpunk around the same time.
How so?
By putting this post-scarcity utopia front and center instead of a gritty, corporate-controlled future.
It was pretty influential.
Hugely. The Culture series is often credited with, like, reviving space opera and Banks's writing style. Wikipedia mentions his humor, which can be quite unexpected, and how he plays with cliches turns them on their head.
So it's not just pew-pew lasers and evil emperors.
Oh, far from it. I mean, there's action, but the minds, for instance, the AIs, they're generally benevolent, if maybe a bit manipulative in their own way.
Benevolent manipulators.
Sort of, yeah. And the themes that keep coming up, according to Wikipedia, the ethics of being super advanced, cultural clashes, when is it right to intervene, they still feel really relevant.
Wikipedia even says it presents a kind of clash of civilizations, which feels, yeah, quite prescient.
It really does. And, this brings us neatly to that whole fascinating discussion around Elon Musk.
Right. The fandom, he's acknowledged he likes the series, named SpaceX drone ships after culture ships.
Yeah, of course I still love you. Just read the instructions. A short fall of gravitas. Those are all ship names from the books.
Which seems like, a cool tribute on the surface.
Sure.
But then you get the Literary Hub article and that Reddit thread asking, well, is he a bad fan? Does he actually get the underlying ideas? The sociopolitics.
Given his own public profile and business activities, which seem pretty different from the culture's ethos.
Yeah, that's the paradox, isn't it? Because the culture, fundamentally, it's described as post-scarcity socialist, maybe even anarcho-communist.
Right. No private property, no money like we have it, which is kind of the opposite of Musk's world, building huge capitalist enterprises.
That Space Ninja quote again. Hippie commies with hyperweapons, distrusting marketolatry and greedism.
Exactly. And the Reddit thread points out Banks himself used similar descriptions. He was pretty clear about the culture's ideology, explicitly socialist, communist.
And there's another angle, too, isn't there? The Literary Hub piece brought up the culture's approach to gender.
Yes, that's a really important point. The culture is generally shown as very fluid and accepting regarding gender identity. It's quite integral to how their society functions.
Which the article suggests seems maybe at odds with some of Musk's more recent comments or stances on those issues.
But that's the question the article raises. Yeah, it's not just a minor detail in the books.
So, okay, if the core values seem so different, why the appreciation? What's the draw for Musk?
Well, the Literary Hub article floats one idea, the AI, the minds. These machine intelligences are absolutely central to the culture.
And Musk is obviously very focused on AI.
Right. His interest in transhumanism, the future of AI, maybe that aspect, the focus on superintelligence, really resonates with him. The minds are often the smartest, wittiest characters,
That kind of makes sense. So maybe it's more about the tech, the scale, the big ideas about intelligence.
Could be. The Reddit thread explores that too. Some people speculate he just likes the, quote, cool ship names and the epic scopes, maybe without digging too deep into the politics.
Just enjoying the sci-fi spectacle.
Possibly. There was even a more, let's say, cynical take mentioned on Reddit that some might misinterpret the culture.
How so?
Seeing it as like a loose association of machine-run benevolent dictatorships, which, might appeal to a certain mindset focused on efficiency or top-down control.
But that wasn't Banks's intention at all.
No, definitely not. And the Reddit thread stresses that, too, Banks himself shot down libertarian readings, clearly labeling it socialist communist.
What about Jeff Bezos? The Week article mentioned him being a fan, trying to get Consider Fleabus made into a show for Amazon.
Yeah, another tech billionaire drawn to the series. It just shows the broad appeal, I think. Even if people interpret the social stuff differently, the sheer imagination, the scale, it's compelling storytelling.
It seems to spark different things in different people.
Definitely. And then you have that Kim Stanley Robinson piece from In These Times. It's not directly about the culture, but it provides this really useful counterpoint, doesn't it?
Yeah, a socialist view on space exploration, kind of pushing back against the billionaire-led vision.
Exactly. It contrasts sharply with the private space race narrative. Robinson talks about, questioning who benefits, what kind of future we're actually building when it's driven by private wealth.
He talks more about, like, publicly funded efforts,
Yeah.
a post-capitalist approach.
Yeah, raising those fundamental questions about inequality and the real purpose of going to space. It's a very different vision from the one often associated with figures like Musk or Bezos, even if they admire certain sci-fi futures.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the Culture series. It's this incredibly complex, thought-provoking utopian vision. But it's got its own contradictions, especially around intervention.
Right, the special circumstances angle.
And yet it has this really wide appeal, captivates people across the ideological map, including those who seem to embody completely different principles.
Precisely. And maybe that's its enduring power. It forces you to ask big questions. What is an ideal society? What's technology's role? How hard is it to actually implement these grand benevolent visions without, compromising?
So for you, the listener, thinking about all these different takes, this paradox of who likes the culture and maybe why, what parts of a utopian future like this really resonate with you?
And what do you think the biggest hurdles would be, the unforeseen challenges in trying to make something like the culture real?
Definitely something to chew on, inspired by the very rich, very stimulating universe Iain M. created.